All right, let's just jump right in. You know that feeling, right? I'm so busy. We all say it. It's like this weird badge of honor these days. But what if that feeling, that busyness, is actually a trap? That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to look at why we feel so swamped all the time, and more importantly, what we can do about it once we figure out where all our time is really going. So let's start with a really simple question. Think about yesterday. Could you actually account for every single hour of your workday? I mean, really break it down. Yeah, for most of us, it's kind of fuzzy, right? And that fuzziness, that's exactly where the problem starts. It's this big mystery, not just for you and me, but for whole companies. And that right there, that leads us straight into what's called the busy trap. You know the feeling. It's that endless cycle of just doing stuff. It feels productive, but deep down, you know it might not be. So let's really unpack why this is such a huge and super expensive blind spot for so many of us. Okay, so really think about it for a second. Your own day. What's the one thing that just eats up most of your time? And I don't mean just meetings or email. I mean which specific project, which client, which tiny annoying task takes up way more hours than it should? The honest answer? Most of us are just guessing. And now let's zoom out a bit. If you're a manager, this gets even tougher, right? Do you really know what your team is spending their time on? Or do you just see that they look busy, they look like they're working hard, and you just kind of assume that's good enough? That right there is a massive gap in what you know. And here's the crazy part. I mean, we live in an age where we track everything, right? Our steps, our sleep. But our time, the most valuable thing we have at work, it's often just ignored. There's no tracking, no data, which means no real insight. We're basically just flying blind. And this really gets to the core of the whole trap. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being effective. A calendar packed with meetings and a to-do list a mile long, that doesn't mean you're creating value. Honestly, it could just mean you're spinning your wheels, working really hard on all the wrong stuff. So, this brings us to a really basic rule of, well, anything really. If you don't know what's broken, how on earth are you supposed to fix it? It's that simple. And this isn't some abstract idea. It has real-world costs. Big one. It all comes down to this classic saying, and it's so true when it comes to time. You can't fix what you don't measure, period. If you don't measure where you're starting from, any effort you make to get better, it's just a complete guess, a shot in the dark. And let me tell you, guessing is expensive. It costs you lost productivity, for sure, but it also costs you in burned out teams and opportunities you completely miss. Think about it. Every single hour your team wastes on some pointless task just because nobody realized it was a time suck, that's real money and real energy just gone. Wow, okay, check out this quote. If you don't know where your time is going, you're not managing a business. You're babysitting chaos. That just hits hard, doesn't it? It completely changes the game. It's not about being a little inefficient anymore. It's about a total lack of control. It forces you to ask yourself, am I actually managing a business here? Or am I just babysitting chaos all day long? Okay, so we get it. The problem is huge. It's expensive. It's total chaos. So what now? Where do we even begin? Well, the good news is the solution starts with something really, really simple. It's basically a 3-step plan. First, you just measure the time. And this is key. You do it with zero judgment. Don't try to fix anything yet, just get the data. Then, step 2, you put on your detective hat. You look at that data and you find the leaks. You know, like that one report that sucks up 10 hours a week but nobody actually reads. And only then, once you know where the problems are, can you move to step 3, fix the system itself, not just put a Band-Aid on one little problem. And just so we're clear, the goal here isn't to, save 3 minutes on sending an email. No. When you actually get this right, you change how work feels, the entire experience. It stops being this frantic, stressful race and becomes something more thoughtful, more intentional, and way more sustainable. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because this simple little change, just tracking time, it starts to build into something way, way bigger. We're not just talking about productivity hacks here. We're talking about building a completely different, a better work culture. One that's built on facts and data, not just gut feelings and guesses. See, when you know where the time is going, you can finally be strategic about it. You can build workflows that actually make sense, which, guess what, slashes burnout. You create breathing room for your team, real, actual space for them to think, to be creative. And the result is pretty amazing. You get better work with way less of that awful stress that comes from feeling like you're always behind. So this leads to a really challenging question, one that pokes at some very old school thinking. Let's say your team becomes so efficient that they can get all their best work done in 5 or 6 hours instead of 8. Do you still make them stay until 5 p.m.? What's the point? Are you really respecting their time and their contribution? Or are you just stuck in an old, outdated way of thinking about work? And answering that question, well, it pushes us toward a totally new philosophy of work. One that's actually built for today, not for a factory floor from 100 years ago. So look at this contrast. The past is all about watching the clock, forcing that 9-to-5 grind, and basically micromanaging everything. But the future? That's about giving people freedom. It's about respecting their time and building real trust. We're talking about a massive shift from managing someone's activity to empowering their autonomy. You stop caring about how many minutes they're in a chair and start caring about the quality of what they produce. And that's the real change in mindset right there. You don't need to micromanage people's time. You just need to respect it. And respecting it means giving your team what they need to be efficient and then trusting them. It's about empowerment, not policing. And this really nails the big fear that so many managers have, right? The fear that if you give people more freedom, they'll do less work. But all the signs point to the exact opposite. When people feel trusted, when they feel respected, they're more engaged, they're more creative, and they produce the same results, or a lot of the time, even better results. And often, they do it in less time. So let's just be super clear about this. This isn't about finding another productivity hack to squeeze a few more minutes out of the day. This is way bigger. This is progress. It's about evolving the way we work into something that's not just more effective, but more sustainable. And yeah, a lot more human. And that's really the final thought here. The whole journey starts with a pretty simple question, right? Where does all the time go? But it leads to a much bigger one. What if, by answering that first simple question, you could build something, well, something better? A team, a company, a way of working that's not just more efficient, but actually smarter and more human. What would that look like for you?